as you know,
Mhm.
I buy apartment buildings. I don't buy plazas. I don't buy retail. I don't do Airbnb. I don't buy hotels. I don't buy restaurants. I simply buy apartment buildings where people can live.
Hi, everyone. It's Maria Recruit here today. And I know that all of you want to know more ways of becoming more creative with creative financing, right? I mean, that's the key here. And I've been able to buy a number of my properties because I've used creative financing. And I have here on All Things Real Estate with Maria Recruit on Monday, May the 25th, 2020. We're still in the COVID pandemic. I have Alfonso Cuadra, and he's going to talk to us. He's the master of creative financing. And I welcome you, Alfonso. Thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you, Maria. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Want to learn new things. So tell us what you've been up to over the weekend. You tell me, and I'll tell you.
Okay, so this weekend I did an inspection on a 18 unit building that I'm picking up. Uh, it should close in July.
Okay, great. And you've been using creative financing, correct?
I'm always every one of my deals. I own property, apartment buildings all across Canada, and all of my deals have something creative in them.
Yeah,
There's
that
some
makes
level of creativity there,
yeah.
and the reason is because I just love it. I love putting deals together. I love, I love solving problems. And if you want to get really amazing deals, and if you want to use creative financing, you have to become a professional problem solver. Because if you can solve other people's problems, yours will be automatic.
I agree, 100%. I've used that actually. My last two deals, they were both private deals. I knew the people who were selling, and I solved their problems, and I solved my problems. I used creative financing, and I did very,
Beautiful.
very well. Did very, very well financially, right? So I'm looking forward to purchasing another property. I have my eye on one property, but and I'll try and use creative financing there. But in the meantime, actually, I'm having an appraiser come in tomorrow to one of my properties, and we'll see what kind of money I can pull out for my next deal. So that's another creative financing, right? Refinance your own property.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's creative because you don't have to pay taxes on it. And I've been because I'm the president and founder of the Canadian Real Estate Investors Association, as you know, and I really appreciate you posting. Any type of tips for my members is really appreciated. So please continue, Alfredo. And what I Alfonso, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. So what I've told my members in the middle of March when I could see that we were going into lockdown, I suggest to everyone to get a deferred mortgage if they could. So I'm glad to say a number of my members did that. Now we're still going into it deeper now, and people are starting to hurt because they can't get tenants out because of the Landlord and Tenant Board Act, and people are living in the house without paying, and maybe they weren't able to get a deferred mortgage, which I hope most people tried to do. But let's say they couldn't, then the next thing I've suggested to all my members is go out and refinance a property that has a lot of equity. Take that money out, put it in the bank, and live off of it now, so you can solve your problems without losing sleep.
For
Because there's
sure.
many people losing sleep. I'm sure you've come across them yourself.
For sure. I mean, this is going to be a time where, unfortunately, people have a lot of problems.
Yes.
And if you can get educated and get be in a position where you're ready to take action and you're in a position to solve other people's problems during this time, this can be a very lucrative time of building wealth and
Yes.
building your portfolio. You know, by the time this cycle is done, I will end up with 5,000 units. And
Oh my
so,
goodness.
and if, as an investor, I've waited for this my entire life. Now I was an investor during 9/11.
Mhm.
There was a mini contraction, and I was also an investor and a business owner during 2008, where we had the last real estate market crash, the contraction,
Mhm.
and I was ready. I was able to capture all the opportunities that were available, but my mindset wasn't there yet in terms of where I am now and the expansion.
Hmm.
And you can either expand or contract. You can't
Yes.
do both at the same time,
No,
right?
no.
And I just believe in expansion, right? I believe in growing and seeing the potential as long as you have the education and
Hmm.
you know what you're doing. And so this is going to be a really, really, really fun time for me as an investor, and a lot of the people that I've surrounded myself around are people waiting for something like this. We were always like, okay, because we knew that next recession was going to be a big one.
Hmm. Oh,
Of course,
yes. Oh,
you
yes.
have to be sympathetic to the people that are, either affected directly by COVID-19 or are in real financial trouble. Because that's just the fact. There's some people that are going to suffer during this time, and it's not like we're going to take advantage of anybody, but we're just going to be there to solve their problems. We're going to be able to capture opportunities for ourselves because we're in a position where we understand and we have that intellectual currency. And when it comes to real estate, most people just are not aware of all the opportunities, all the things that you could do. For
Yes.
example, you can do seller financing. When you have so many deferred mortgages in the market, I think
Hmm.
Meridian just announced 50% of their mortgages were deferred.
Of course.
Lenders are scared, and they're
Sure they are.
and the same thing happened in 2008. In 2008, the money just got tight, and the lenders were scared to lend, and so
Hmm.
that's what's happening now.
Yes.
Some of the lenders right now are requiring you to have 6 months of mortgage payments in your bank account before they're going to advance funds.
That
Uh,
makes sense.
some of the lenders right now are asking you, have you deferred any of your mortgages? And if you have, they're going to take that into consideration and they may not give you any more financing, right? And
Yeah.
so, understanding the environment and how hard lending is, well, this now makes a perfect environment for that conversation to be had
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
seller financing, on
Yes.
creative financing, on agreements for sale, lease options. A lot of things can happen during these times because there's just no other choice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great place to be. Now, with that, with 9/11, what happened to you? Because you were mentioning about your business. You had a different business at that time, didn't you?
Yeah, so I started at 17 years old. We had
Okay.
this conversation previously. I'll give you the cliff notes.
Okay.
The
Good.
you
Yeah.
know immigrated to Canada in '86 from a war-torn country. We came as landing refugees. I
Wow.
had troubles integrating a bit of trouble integrating into school. Ended up being very frustrated and dropping out of school at 15. At the same time, I left home, became homeless.
Oh dear.
I had a life changing moment at 17 years old, 25 years ago, where I became a father, a dad at 17. Discovered my why, turned
Mhm.
around my entire life, and started a business at 17 years old selling t shirts and jeans and sneakers from my locker in high school. Turned that into a multi-million dollar business across Canada before I turned 20 years old. And I thought I was at the top of the world until 9/11 came. And it was a market contraction that I wasn't ready for. Almost went completely bankrupt at that time and realized that I would never, ever put all my eggs in one basket. And so I needed a secondary source of income that was indestructible,
Mhm.
Armageddon proof. And so this is why I chose multifamily. So I don't buy. So as you know,
Mhm.
I buy apartment buildings. I don't buy plazas. I don't buy retail. I don't do Airbnb. I don't buy hotels. I don't buy restaurants. I simply buy apartment buildings where people can live, and I'm affordable rents, blue collar type of clientele. I don't go for the luxury.
Mhm.
I'm not going for like really low income. I'm kind of going for the middle, and
Middle.
all purpose built. And that just became a really good model. And my reasoning behind that was just really having a secondary source
Hmm.
of income that was Armageddon proof. Because what I understood is like if the whole world, stopped tomorrow, at least people need to live somewhere. And so I've followed that model ever since then. And I take a lot of risk when it comes to the business side of things, because we also had this discussion. Like, I love business and I love being an entrepreneur, but I also have this really solid, uh, you know, portfolio, and I just really became good at it. And then about 15 years ago, I started teaching people on
Hmm.
how to buy real estate, and that's how the speaking and training people all across North America came about. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the whole thing in a nutshell.
Yeah, but it's great because everyone will realize that you've come from everyone else. We all start in the same place.
Yeah,
We're not born rich. I wasn't born rich. My parents were immigrants, right? Worked very hard. But my father was investing in real estate. He did do that. He had a
yeah,
couple of businesses because he wanted to have his freedom from any corporation or anybody owning him. I mean, he came from from a country that became communist after the Second World War. He was Polish. My mother was Italian. So they came here as immigrants. They came here in the middle of the winter. You can imagine freezing. Went to Manitoba where they worked on a farm. Like started from scratch, right? So I mean, I saw them, and and my father was my best mentor up until I've always had mentors, different kinds of mentors. So the other thing that I'd love you to talk about is your mentors. I mean, I've had a number of them. I still do. How about yourself? Do you still rely on your mentors? And I know you're
absolutely,
a mentor also,
absolutely.
just like I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get this question. I'm on a lot of podcasts.
Hmm.
I do television as well.
Hmm.
Um, you know, when it comes to real estate, when some, especially during these times,
Yeah.
they call on me because I've been through these kind of things before, and I'm out there. I'm actually buying real estate,
Mhm.
before this and during this, and I will be buying it
After.
after. And nothing really changes in my life. I'm always going to be a real estate investor,
Sure.
and so for me, okay, I want to be in a position to help people, but
Mhm.
people ask me a question all the time. They say, Alfonso, I got $10,000. What should I do? Like, what's the
Mhm.
first thing I should do? Should I, like, what's the neighborhood? People always want to know, like, the juicy, like, give me the neighborhood. Where am I going to buy? I said, honestly, if you have $10,000, the best place to invest that is back into yourself.
Yeah.
Find yourself a coach, a mentor,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
training program, whatever you have to do to
Yeah.
get yourself educated so you know how to identify a deal. The worst
Absolutely.
thing to the worst place to be is to have $10,000 and not know what a deal looks like. But guess what? Someone will come and take that money from you,
Sure. Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And or you
Absolutely.
will blow it, or because you still don't understand how real estate works. And so, at the very beginning, going back 20 years, 20 plus years, and even
Mhm.
going back to the when I started in business, I had mentors, I had coaches. I've paid premium
Yes.
premium money, premium investments in myself. That's the only thing they can never be taken away, is what I know, and the investment in myself. And so that's the very first place that you need to invest, is back into yourself. I've had mentors. I still have mentors and
Mhm.
coaches right now. And even
Sure.
though I have hundreds of units all across Canada, I'm still at a point where I'm always going to be open to learning. I always want to learn. I'm a professional student. I will always be a professional student for the rest of my life, even though I have my own students. It
Sure.
doesn't matter. Do
Yeah.
you want would you want your doctor to stop learning,
No.
right?
Good,
Or
good point.
new
Good
strategies, new
point.
ways
Good point.
of medicine,
Yeah.
right? The second someone stops learning, that's the second they're going backwards. And
Yeah.
so you should always have a mentor.
Or a coach. I agree
Yeah,
100%. And I'm trying to, because with these programs and these shows I'm doing, like having wonderful people like yourself, people should be taking this and looking at this and saying, what you're telling right now is like a coaching session.
yeah,
And I have a show a day with different people in the industry that you people could just listen to and get free coaching. I mean, we never had this when I started. in business, which was in 1982 in New York City, we didn't have programs on our computer. We didn't even have a computer, right?
Yeah.
We would go out and learn, and whether that was in college or university, or whether that was courses. But so now we have we're so, there's so much advantages. There's so much advantages now, and for people not to take. And I find many members are not taking advantage of this. So where is their head? Like, for me, they're not serious. They're not serious
Yeah.
business people.
Well, the problem is, there's these programs like HGTV that
Yes.
make it look so easy,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens is a lot of people get caught up in that, and now it's easy, but it's not simple.
No, that's right.
And
Exactly.
unfortunately, you're playing with big money here, and
Yes.
you should
Yeah.
know what you're doing, or you can hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And so and so most people say, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and try on my own, figure it out, and then come back." Right? Would you allow your surgeon to do that?
No.
You
No.
want your
No.
surgeon to be educated in
Yeah.
surgery, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to just wing it, right? And so a lot of the time people just don't understand that there is a value in investing in yourself. There is a value of immersing yourself into education. Get yourself some of that free education. I mean, right here we have our portable television station,
Yeah.
broadcasting station, and a
Yeah.
lot of people that are out there like me. I'm out there, doing deals on a daily basis. I'm showing people how to do deals. I'm coaching people. I'm doing all these things, and at the end of the day, I have my own YouTube channel. I'm giving away,
Yeah.
tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Take it all.
Yeah.
Figure out, get it all for free.
Yeah.
Read every book. Go to every seminar. Whatever you have to do
Yes.
to immerse yourself into this culture. And once you can speak the language, you are going to see your life will change like night and day.
Oh, I absolutely, and this is what I say to all my members is, you know what? Now you have the perfect opportunity. You can't go anywhere. I mean, you're silly if you want to go and get yourself infected or infect somebody else. So why don't you stay home, enjoy it, enjoy the garden, work in the garden, paint, and learn. That's what I'm doing all day long. I'm learning, even as simple as my garden, what to do with my garden, because I want to learn, right? Along with real estate, like I immersed myself in real estate when I started in 2000. I was immersed, 100% immersed. I went to all the programs. I had mentors. Just spoke to people like yourself over dinner, lunch, whatever. I was learning. I'm still learning every single day now. It hasn't
Well, you
stopped.
have to. The
You have
second
to,
you stop
yes.
learning, that's the second you start dying, right?
I know
It's
that.
like it's
I
like a
know that.
plant. If a plant is
Yes.
not growing,
Yeah.
it's dying, right?
Yeah.
If there's no in the middle, right? It's either you're contracting or expanding. And so
Yeah.
I choose to expand. Everything that I do in my life,
Mhm.
I know where I'm going. You see,
Yes.
most people want to operate based on where they are in their current circumstances.
Mhm.
We get the people out there that say, you know what? When I make a little bit more money, then I'll invest a little bit more on education.
Yeah.
Well, this is when you should be investing,
Yeah.
right? See where you're going and operate as if you already are there. What would be the moves that you would make based on where you're going, not where you are?
I
And
agree
so
100%.
that's the only way you learn a language, a game, anything is by immersing yourself in the life, which we call real estate.
Yeah.
And then you start to discover there are other people that have immersed. Everybody has their own path.
Mhm.
And when we get to times like this, like COVID-19, where it's going to change the landscape, now you can reach back to your community and see what other people are doing to make moves for yourself. March 15th, I knew that nothing will ever be the same again.
No.
Nothing will ever be the. I knew that since March 15th. You know why? Because I know exactly what happened in 2008.
Mhm.
And I know exactly what happened during 9/11, where the borders were stopped and nothing can get through, flights were grounded, airlines were almost going bankrupt. And so I have that experience that now I'm coming on a show like
Yeah.
yours, and now I can share that experience. And
Sure.
March 15th, I was doing podcasts. I was on every interview and television. All these people wanted to know what was I doing,
Yeah.
and I was giving. And I said, listen, this is a time to act. This
Hmm.
is a time to accept the current situation. We
Hmm.
will never ever be the same. Realize, stand in your truth, and now you have to act. And since March 15th, because for me, I have a huge responsibility. I have 100 units, hundreds of
Yeah.
units across Canada, and I have, I have a responsibility to my employees, my investors, my lenders, my tenants.
Yes.
And since March 15th, we've been communicating with everyone, and I think this is why we were able to. We now, knock on wood, we've been okay. We are about 98, 99% collected all the rents. Everybody
Fantastic.
has paid their rents. We have not had to defer any mortgages, and
Wow. Good
we
for you.
we are standing on good solid ground.
Hmm.
Now, moving forward, when we ask for money, how do we look to these potential lenders that they saw us go through this hard time for a lot of people, but we are standing on solid ground. And
Hmm.
so, this is part of being immersed, right? Because as I was going through that experience, I was also sharing it on all the different podcasts, all the shows that are out there. I was out there, telling people, giving tips. I have a YouTube channel that people can subscribe for free, right? It doesn't cost anything. And through that YouTube channel, I broadcast my entire experience. Yesterday, I was looking at an 18-unit building where I was doing a lot of creative financing. A lot of the deals that I've done in the past, 90% seller financing, 100% seller financing, they're all on YouTube for people to read about, learn about. And that's the power of immersing yourself into this culture, or else you would never know that this even exists.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Yeah, take advantage of it. And what I find is, there's a lot of small landlords. A lot of small landlords belong to my association because I have the Ontario Landlords Association also, and I have like 1,000
Beautiful.
people to come on board.
Yeah.
Haven't been able to get to them, being too busy with my shows, and then just enjoying life. I mean, I'm taking a bit of a break from all this just to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in business since 1982, so it's time for me to enjoy life a little bit more, and I certainly am doing it. Really enjoying my life. So I've even had time to go and smell the crabapple tree. That's just
Beautiful.
beautiful. I'm playing with my wind chimes. I'm having so much fun on my own property, putting a garden in, all that, right? Well, they're still learning about real estate, of course. What would you suggest to these small landlords that have tenants that are not paying and will not pay? Let's face it. What kind of advice? Because I give them advice, but why don't you now lead and tell us what you think they should be doing?
Uh, the most important thing when you're negotiating a deal, dealing with your employees or your tenants, they're all human beings. You need to communicate. And there's a really great book out there about leadership, and it's John Maxwell. And John Maxwell wrote many books on leadership. And part of the leadership is communication. We were sending out communication March 15th, and every week we send out letters to our tenants, to our investors. Our employees need to know what's going on. Everybody needs to see what's going on so everybody understands what everybody's dealing with. The problem with Ontario is there was a lot of miscommunication coming from the leadership.
Yes, yes.
Uh, the leadership was saying that the landlords are going to get deferrals, which, yes, in some regard that's true, but that's only for people that have mortgages from the top five banks, not private mortgages,
Mhm.
RSP mortgages, VTBs,
Mhm.
um, B lenders, commercial lenders. I mean, as an investor, we're not always using the top five banks.
Yeah.
And what most people don't know, that there's consequences, and those consequences. Now, if you need the deferral, go ahead and use it, because of course, I mean, that's what it's there for. But a lot of these a lot of these could be rectified just by simple communication. And so we communicated to our tenants. We said, listen, uh, this is the communication from the government. These are the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all the things apply, they apply to single family homes. They don't apply to you. And we are sympathetic. We are here for you. Here's our phone number. If you need to figure things out, here it is. And then, sure enough, people called, and we help people. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
was talking to a gentleman the other day, and he's like, "Listen, I'm on EI, but I was on hold for 8 hours." I
Sure.
said,
It's
"So,
crazy. It's crazy. It's
so
got
your
nothing else to
job,
do, right?
your job from now on is to be on hold until you get someone on the other
Yeah.
side. Do
Good
you
for
have
you.
anything else better to do?"
Except complain. Except complain, right?
Yeah,
Which
you know,
people do.
and
That's all they're doing.
so people didn't know where to apply or whatever. We gave them all the information. This is where you apply. This is what it is. And we were some of the people, you know, the check comes on the 15th. Okay, do you have anything now? And so the communication was very simple. Listen, we are sympathetic and we are here for you until the very end. Here are the facts. If something happens in your unit, you are going to want us to repair that. You need to
Mm-hmm.
us to pay the water. You need to pay the hydro. You enjoy the heat because it was
Mm-hmm.
still March, right?
Yeah.
The
Cold.
the the yard work,
Yeah.
the security, the safety, and none of those people have deferred any type of payment.
It's
The
good.
water bills still due. Everything is still due.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you are personally having issues, we are here to help. But at the end of the day, rent will be due
Mm-hmm.
because a lease is a legal binding contract. At some point, that lease is legal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yes.
now, we might not be able to enforce it, but at some point, we will have to. And so, what are you going to do without a place?
Yeah.
You know, what are you
Exactly.
going to do when you're too far behind, right? And so and we have been able, we were really successful and we've helped people. And as a result, they have helped us, right?
So I have a question for you. Do you find that a lot of people are moving right now, or do you finding most people are just hunkered down right now? What are you finding?
Well, we are very full. So most people before this, people didn't want to move because especially in Ontario, rents are going up. So
Mhm.
you
Yes.
see, most people don't move. And then when we had in March, sorry, April,
Okay.
we filled 10 vacancies
Mhm.
during that time.
Good.
Virtual tours.
Yeah.
We did whatever we had to do, and we vetted the people just like we vet everybody else at any other time. And so we have really great tenants, and we were able to fill all our units.
Excellent. That's really good.
Yeah,
I'm finding in Niagara there's a lot of people looking, but a lot of people are running away from something or another. So that's why vetting people is very, very important to find out, right?
important, very
Yeah,
important.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, that's the difference between success or failure with any property. Is
yep,
especially when you're just starting out and they just buy a house and they put somebody in there and they have no idea who they are, and then they start making trouble. Like for instance, that apartment building that is in Toronto where the people are refusing to pay the landlord, right? What do you think about all of that going on?
I think it's a miscommunication between the landlord and or the management and the people, right?
Yes.
Those are the type of people that were absent,
Mm-hmm.
didn't communicate. uh you know then the tenants got things in their mind. There's always a ringleader, right?
Sure, there is. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it gets out of hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to be make sure you want to make sure you're there with communication, and you want to be fair with people. But when people don't understand your position and where you're coming from, how can they possibly be in a position where they want to help you, right? And so this is it's give and take. It can't just be take, pay your rent, pay
Mm-hmm.
your rent, pay your
Yeah.
rent.
Yeah. Of
If
course.
someone is going through something, you know what? Let's be sympathetic to that. Let's see how we can solve it. All those people in that apartment building have all measures of getting funds from other places,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
CERB, you have SEBA, you have all these programs. So there shouldn't be any issues for people paying their rents.
Yeah.
Now, now here's another thing for the next COVID-19. I've made it I've just made it I guess a fundamental investment criteria for me in our in what we do. We look for blue collar, okay,
Mhm.
and so our average rent is about $1,200,
That's for an
and
apartment. Is that for a one bedroom apartment or two bedrooms?
two bedrooms just across the board average. So we have some stuff
Yeah.
that's maybe 14, and some things are around the seven hundred
Yeah.
dollar mark. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's why we're in this position right now.
Mhm.
Because if the government's giving you $2,000, it's enough to pay your rent, and you have the rest to buy food and whatnot the
Sure.
rest of the month.
Sure.
Now, if your rent is $3,000 or $2,500 and you're getting a $2,000 check, well, you're not getting ahead, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I've stayed away from the luxury product. I really don't do any, like, executive suites. I don't do anything like that.
Mhm.
I kind of stay right in the middle. I don't want, like, I'm not gonna pick up the low end stuff. I
Mhm.
don't want the high end stuff. I just kind
No.
of, like, maintain in the middle, blue
Yeah.
collar, and it's something to be said, right?
Mhm.
Like the benefits kind of are geared towards those people in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, in order for you to cash flow or even make a profit, you have to make sure when you buy the building or whatever, right, that it will be able to cash flow. I mean, that's what the
Absolutely,
person has to do. So
yes,
anyone going into this business has to understand that you don't buy a house that has negative cash flow.
yeah,
You buy a house that has positive cash flow. And I think, like myself, when I started investing, it's 10% I want to make every year. I mean, I'm still using that formula as 10%. And I feel that people are not in the basics. They're not learning the basics of real estate. They just see it. Oh my God, I'm going to make millions with this real estate. I bought one property.
number one, go get educated.
Yeah,
Go get
they're not
educated.
educated. Yeah, just get educated so you
That's
realize
that's
that.
number one. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't know what you're
Exactly.
looking at, you're dead in the water anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Before you even started,
Yeah.
before you even start, you're finished. Yeah, because I met so many people when I first started that got themselves into trouble. One of them in particular bought a house and he didn't pick the right person in there.
Oh,
And
for
they
sure.
ruined the property. He went bankrupt. He got out of the real estate business completely. Another person was really trying to accelerate their growth. And so they were getting a lot of investors to invest with them, but they didn't know what to do with that money. So you know what they did? They just said, nope, that's it with the end. And they walked away from it all. And people lost all their money. So I
Wow.
think people have to be very, very careful who you're going into business with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the one thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. You definitely need to get yourself educated or leverage someone else's education, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, for example, an investor like me, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I've been in
Mhm.
business for 25 years. I'm an operator. That's my biggest strength, and what I bring to the table is I'm a very strong operator. And so, I have investors, and
Yep.
they're investing with me passively because they get to leverage all of my years of experience. And so that can be a very powerful thing, joint ventures, and
Yes.
not just leverage other people's money, other people's credit, but why not leverage other people's experience as well, so
Experience.
you
Yeah.
have the time to catch up on that
Yeah.
education yourself.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Any last minute advice about the creative financing that you want to add right now,
You
Alfonso?
know what, don't be in a rush.
Yeah.
Everything takes time. When you have two parties that are really serious, one wants to sell and the other one wants to buy, there shouldn't be a reason why these two parties can't come together unless you didn't listen to their problems. Most people out there, it's all about me, 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 me. It needs to be, everybody sitting at that table needs to win. And if you have that mindset, a win-win mindset, you will get more deals done more creatively, and ultimately build a bigger portfolio and build more wealth.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And this might be a really good time for someone to go into real estate, but they have to know what they're doing. This is not a beginner's market at all. Be very,
Absolutely.
very careful about that. Because we really don't know how the market's going to go. Up, down, side. We don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't had this happen before. Like 2008, 2000, like in 2000, when 2001, when we had the, when we had 9/11, it didn't affect my business at all.
It
Not
was
at
a
all.
mini. It was a mini contraction.
It was a mini blip, right?
Yeah, and it was is what put it was what created 2008.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now,
Yeah.
2008, I really, what I felt, how I felt 2008 was I couldn't get um, property qualified people. I was doing a lot of rent to owns at that time, and it just dried up. So I just fixed them up, flipped them out, and that was the end of it. I decided, okay, I'm going to do a different strategy, which worked out really well. But I noticed that. I noticed that about that people were disappearing. The money wasn't, didn't have as much money. And I kept saying, like, for 3 years now, I've been telling all my members, Alfonso, that we are going towards a big depression. Everybody was laughing at me because I said, we're in a recession. Oh, what do you mean recession? When you see thousands of people being laid off in
Yeah.
jobs, nothing's going on out west. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing's going to happen there. What do you think that's an indication of? And if the only business that's working is real estate, there's something wrong with the economy.
Yeah.
Real estate is not there to prop people up. Real estate is
Yeah.
part of it. But I
Yeah.
saw all these foreign investors coming in. I said, oh my God, we're in for a crazy ride. And sure enough, and
Here we go. We
yeah,
didn't know how it was going to happen, but
no,
we know
no.
if we knew it was coming.
Oh yes, oh yes. And people who know business.
Yeah.
I think more people should listen to people who have been in business a long time because
Yeah.
we've seen the ups and downs. I mean, if you're just a youngin' and you're just starting up, what do you know about business? And most people, I'm afraid to say, is most people that are starting on real estate don't know anything about business. They come from a job, and real estate is not a job. It's a profession, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That your life is dedicated to real estate. You're thinking about it morning and night, solving problems, just like
You
you said.
immerse yourself. Yes.
You immerse yourself, yeah. So I'd love to thank you, Alfonso Cuadra, who's a visionary entrepreneur, TV host, professional speaker, real estate investor, author, and trainer at Keyspire, author at From the Ground Up, TV host and producer at Success by Design show. Thank you so very, very much. I really appreciate you coming. And we were discussing how to buy more real estate using creative financing. I'm going to have you come back on my show. You have so much to offer all my members. So have a wonderful day. Enjoy this
Thank
hot
you so
weather.
much for all you do, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You take